I like the way you work it out, no diggity. I got to math it up. I like the way you work it out, no diggity. I got to math it up. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. Hey, your problem looks good. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. No diggity, no doubt. Alright, so we're going to talk about isosceles triangle properties and equilateral triangle properties. Hopefully you guys remember a little bit about these two. Start with isosceles. Biggest thing to know is if two angles are congruent, then the sides that are opposite them are also congruent. So if this angle and this angle are congruent, okay, that's what these little arcs mean, that these two are the same amount. If that's the case, then the sides that are opposite them are also congruent. Now the side opposite this angle is the side of the triangle that does not make this angle. As you can see, this side makes the angle and this side makes the angle. So the side opposite is this one over here, the one that does not make that angle. And you can almost think of if you just drew a line straight out from here, the side that it runs into is going to be the opposite side. So right here, the side that does not touch this angle is this side. So these two little tick marks mean that these sides are congruent, which is what we know. Since the two angles are congruent, then the sides opposite them are also congruent. So we know that these two sides are congruent. Now, the exact opposite is also true. If we know that the two sides are congruent, if we're told that, then we also can deduce that the base angles opposite those sides are also going to be congruent. So I know this angle and this angle are congruent angles if these two sides are the same. Alright, so equilateral triangles, a little bit easier. We know with equilateral triangles, if all three angles are equal, then all three sides are equal. And the opposite is also true. If all three sides are equal, if we're told all three sides are equal, then we know all three angles are equal. And we don't just know they're all equal, we also know that they're all 60. It's the only thing they could possibly be if they're all the same and they add up to 180. The only thing they could be is 60. So every equilateral triangle should have 360-degree angles. Okay. So now let's use that knowledge to solve some problems algebraically. So we're going to classify the triangle and then solve for x. So what kind of triangle is this? Well, we see an arc mark here and an arc mark here that indicates these two angles are the same. So we know this is an isosceles triangle. And because these angles are the same, we know the sides opposite them are also the same, or congruent. So since this side and this side are congruent, we know 7 is equal to 2x minus 11. So now we can set up an equation to solve for x. So we're going to add 11, that cancels, and we bring down our 2x. And over here we've got 7 plus 11 is 18, and we divide 2, so x equals 9. And that's our answer. So we solve for x, and we classify the triangle as isosceles. So on this one, we see we've got all three angles are the same, which makes this an equilateral triangle, or equiangular. Either one is the same thing. So because of that, we know the angle or the side opposite this angle is the same as this one, and is also the same as that one. All three are the same. So since this is equal to that, we can set up an equation by setting them equal to each other. X plus 22 must equal 11. Subtract 22 to get the x by itself. So x is alone, and 11 minus 22 is negative 11, which is our answer. All right. Okay, so now let's do some examples of ones with angles. So on this triangle, we see these two sides are the same, and it's pretty easy to tell this side over here is not the same, especially since it doesn't have a tick mark. So because these sides are the same, we know the angles opposite those two sides, this one and this one, must be the same. So these two angles are congruent, so we can set them equal. X equals 68. Do we need to solve for x? Nope. X is already by itself, so we're done. There's our answer. This angle over here is also 68. Now on this one, it's a little bit trickier here, so you've got to remember that the sum of the three angles in a triangle is 180 in order to solve this one. Okay, because if this side and this side are congruent, then we know the angle opposite this side, which is 48, is congruent to the angle opposite this side, which we don't know. But we know now, since these two sides are the same, that the base angles are also the same. So this angle must also be 48 degrees. But we want to find x. X is the third angle. Okay, so now we've got to remember our knowledge from the triangle sum theorem that all three angles in a triangle add up to 180. So x plus 48 plus 48 must equal 180. 48 and 48 make 96. And then we subtract 96 and subtract 96. So x equals 180 minus 96 is 84 degrees. So we know that this angle right here is 84 degrees. And you can always check your work by adding the three angles up to make sure they equal 180. Now on this one, another little thing we've got to do. So right here, this side and this side are the same, which tells us the base angles opposite them are the same. So x and the angle opposite this side, which is this angle, must be the same. So this angle is also x. So now how can we solve for x? Well, over here, this angle is 106, and these two angles together, x and the 106, make a linear pair. So remember from the triangle sum theorem video that two angles that add up to make a linear pair add up to 180. So x plus 106 must equal 180 because they make a linear pair. So we're going to minus 106 and minus 106, and then x is going to equal 74 degrees. Okay, cool. So you guys try some now. I'm going to pause the video, get a little practice in, and then I'll show you the answers. Alright, so right here you've got two sides that are equal, and we know that the angles opposite them must be equal, so then x must equal 55, and we're done. And on this one, you've got two sides equal, so the angles opposite them must also be equal. Since this one's 55, this other one must also be 55. So then to solve for x, we know the three angles must add up to be 180. So I do x plus 55 equals 180. I combine my 55s into 110 and subtract from both sides to get 70 for my angle x. All right, on this last one, you know that all three sides are the same. So if this angle is x, the other two angles must also be x. All right, because if three sides are the same, all three of the angles are the same. So then if this is x, you can say, all right, well, x and 120 make a linear pair. So I need to add those together to equal 180. Subtract your 120, and you get 60. And you might be saying, but Coach Shipley, I thought you said if all the sides are the same and all the angles are the same, then all the angles are 60 always. Isn't that what you said? Yeah, and you're right. So if you notice that, then you saved yourself a lot of time. If you recognize, oh, these three sides are the same, so it's an equilateral triangle, all the angles are the same, so they're all 60, then you did a good job. Save yourself some time and do a little shortcut. Okay, so let's go on. So here's a little bit trickier. Right here you've got two sides are the same, so the angles opposite must be the same. This angle is the same as this angle, so this one's also x. So then the three angles together must add up to 180. So you must have x plus 78 equals 180. X plus x is 2x. Dos x. So then we minus 78 menos 78, and 180 minus 78 is 102. Then we divide by 2 and divide by 2, so we get x equals 51 degrees. Alright, there's the answer on that one. Now this one's a little bit trickier. Okay, so we know these two sides are the same, so the angles across from them must also be the same, but this time we don't have anything for either one of these angles, so we need to figure out something for these angles. Well, because this angle is 139, it makes a linear pair with this one. We know that our unknown angle right here must add up to 139 to be 180. So we're just going to make up a variable for it. We're going to call this angle y. Since this one's angle x, we'll call that one angle y. So of course this is also angle y because they're the same. So we need to figure out what is y. Well, y plus 139 should equal 180. So we minus 139 minus 139. So y must equal 41. So now we know this is 41 and this is 41. Okay, now you can use your triangle sum theorem. All three angles must add up to be 180. So x plus 41 should equal 180. 41 and 41 is 82. So we subtract 82 from both sides. That leaves our x by itself over here, which is what we want. And 180 minus 82 is 98 degrees. Good boy band back in the day. Most of y'all probably heard the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. 98 Degrees was a little lesser known boy band that sang some really, really good tunes back in the day. I do cherish you from the depths of my soul. It's beyond my control. It's a good one. Look it up. You'll love it. You'll love it. Alright, so now you guys try this one and look up some 98 Degrees while you're working on them. Listen to some smooth jams of the 90s. Love that 98 Degrees song. I hope you looked it up. If not, you're missing out. So on this one, you've got same sides. Alright, so the opposite angles are the same. So since that's x, this has to be x. Now you can add them all up to equal 180. X plus x is 2x plus 100 is 180. Subtract 100, you get 80. And then divide by 2. 80 divided by 2 is 40 degrees. Alright, on this one, you had to use your linear pair knowledge to know if this is 100, this has to be 80 because the two angles that make a straight line have to add up to 180. So then once you knew this was 80, you could see these were equal sides, so their opposite angles must be equal. Since that's x, that's got to be x. Now you can say, alright, well 2x's plus 80 has to equal 180. Alright, and then minus 80, it's 100 divided by 2, x is 50. Now you might have also remembered the external angle theorem, which says any angle you have on the outside of a triangle has to equal the sum of the two opposite angles. So you could have just said, well, 100 must equal x plus x, which would work also. And then you divide by 2 and get 50, you get the same answer. On this one, you could use linear pair theorem to know these two have to add up to 180. So this must be 38 to add up to 142 to get 180. Then these are your same sides. Opposite angles must be congruent. So this must also be 38. So x plus 38 is 180. 38 and 38 makes 76. Subtract your 76. So x equals 104 degrees. Alright, last couple we're going to go over. And it's basically the same. It's just a different way of presenting it. They tell you measure of angle 2 equals x plus 82. And then instead of putting the information in the triangle, they just tell you this is angle 2. So all you really need to do is ignore this 2 and plug this in for angle 2. So we're going to call this x plus 82. And that's really all that's different on this one. So if these angles are the same, these sides are the same, then the opposite angles must also be the same. So x plus 82 equals 70. Subtract your 82. So x equals negative 12. And remember, x can be negative, that's okay, because x doesn't necessarily have to be the angle. Right here, x plus 82 is the angle. So as long as you plug it back in and get a positive angle, you're fine. And on this one, same type of thing. 7x plus 6 is angle 2. So we're just going to call this 7x plus 6. Alright, and if these sides are the same, the angles opposite are the same. So if this is 66, this one also is 66. So we can say 7x plus 6, which is the top angle, plus 66 twice must equal 180. Alright, whatever the expressions are for your three angles must add up to be 180. So this is a little bit more complicated, a lot of terms in here to add up. 6 plus 66 plus 66, that's going to be what, 138 equals 180. Now we just minus 138 and minus 138. So 7x equals 42. And divide 7, well, it looks like a 2. Divide 7 and divide 7. I did it again. That's a 7. Alright, so we divide 7, so we get x equals 42 divided by 7 is, of course, 6. That's not a degree because it's part of the angle. It's not the whole angle, so we just say 6. Alright, so you guys try these two. I'll go over them and we'll be done. This one, you had to put 13 plus 3x in for this angle. These two angles are, these sides are the same, so the angles opposite are the same, both 73 degrees. So then 73 plus 73 plus 13 plus 3x must equal 180. So add all that up. Those numbers all add up to 159 minus 159, get 21. Then divide by 3, so x is 7. On the last one, you've got base angles that are the same. This was angle 2, so we just called it x plus 42 because that's the same as angle 2. And then since these sides are the same, their opposite angles are the same. So this must also be x plus 42. Then we add up all three of the angles. X plus 42 plus x plus 42 plus 112 equals 180. Here we got that. We combine our like terms. X and x make 2x. 42, 42, and 112 make 196. And we minus 196, get negative 16. And then divide by 2 on both sides. So x is negative 8. Boom. Owned. Cash money in the bank. Let's do some math.